here we are with Scotty. I'm going to show you what his phase 2 of e-collar conditioning looks like. So basically, where we started was just teaching him what this sensation means. The stimulation is just a sensation. It has absolutely no meaning. It's my job to give it a meaning. So what we've been doing is stim, feed, you know, using a little bit of leash pressure, some luring, other forms of prompting, if necessary, to help him understand this is what it means. This is what it means. Come to me and get food. If I just stim, yeah, good boy, right? Now he's much more certain. Stim, yes, good boy. He knows what to do. Good job. And he happily comes over to me. So once we have that in the dog, then I like to start moving on and adding it in to essentially the next conditioning phase. Okay, so one thing to be really mindful of when working with the e-collar is that motion, when teaching the dog motion, is much easier for them to understand than doing any stationary stuff. So we don't want to create any confusion. So what we're going to do when we start to add in for the stationary, he already understands leash pressure. General rule of thumb, when you do a sit or down, you want to drop down a few levels because there's no motion. We want to make it as simple as possible. So I'm not going to add in a verbal cue yet, and I'll tell you why in a second. Okay, so here I'm just going to pull up, tap, 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 release. Good boy. Good job. Do it again. Tap. Good. Man. Good. Good boy. Okay. Tap, 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 release. Good boy. Okay, the reason I'm not saying sit yet, this is why. So, if I do leash pressure, verbal, and e-collar pressure, Scotty, sit, tap, okay? He's gonna give me the sit. It's gonna be much easier for him because he knows sit. I don't want that when I'm conditioning the e-collar. I want the dog to pay attention to the tactile communication. So I'm going to leave the verbal out of it. Okay. So again, tap, tap, good boy. And all of these things essentially mean sit. Sit means, the verbal sit means put your butt on the floor. This can mean sit. Leash pressure means sit. Tapping means sit. It's my job to make all those different forms of communication mean the same thing to him without confusion. So the idea is to not be throwing all of them at him at once so he can actually pay attention to what it is he's supposed to be learning. Because the end-all, be-all point of your dog understanding the e-collar is that you can call them back to you with tangible communication when they're out of auditory range. So we'll try something different here. Tap, 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 tap. Good boy, right? A little awkward. He's like, before you wanted to come to me and get food and now you want me to lay down, right? The e-collar means so many things. It's up to us to truly teach the dog. So when do you add the command? My goal is to first see the wheels greased, right? I want to see the joints greased. Just as I taught him to respond to the prong collar pressure, at first he was awkward to that. Now we're essentially using the stim there as well. So ideally, boy buddy, tap, 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 tap. I want to see this way more fluid before we go ahead and add the sit command. He is going to give me the sit. Again, he's going to do it, right? But that's not what I want. What I want is for him to be paying attention to what this means and that that pressure goes away when he puts his body in that position. Okay. Tap, tap. Good man. That is it, buddy. Good boy. Good boy. Good boy. Once we have tap, good. after a few sessions, I would go ahead, buddy, and start, sit, good boy, good man, right? But again, I want to ensure that I haven't skipped any steps. So let's do another one. Sit, tap, good boy, free. Sit, tap, good boy. So 2, take them down to a 1. Free. Free, good boy. Sit. Nice. Once he starts to do it faster, like this, and he's understanding that the stim means the same thing as the prom, means the same thing as sit, free. Okay. Then we can move on to less leash pressure, more just stim and verbal. Sit, tap, good boy. Free. Good. Sit, tap, tap, good boy. Free. Come here, buddy. Sit, tap, good boy. Free. That's a buddy. That's a buddy. Good. Sit, tap, good. And soon enough, we will be totally off leash. Good boy. Free. That's a buddy, man. Good boy. Good boy.